Welcome to our video on the hardest encounters of the Dragon Age series. We want to thank everybody who voted from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit for this poll and our previous poll. If you haven't watched our video from last week, make sure you go and check that out. We're just going to jump right into this one again, and we're going to start with number 14.
So in 14th place, we have Jax Gang with 3% of the votes. Actually, I'm pretty surprised that Jax Gang finished at 14th spot.
Yeah, I'm wondering if a lot of people just never found him. And that's
I noticed
why...
from some of the comments, some people said, who is Jax Gang? Because, to be honest, the quest is really long, and not long, but difficult to find. You need a guide to be extremely lucky just to find that quest.
Right. Well, yeah, he's one of the forbidden ones? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah. So there's 4 of them, and he was the first one we saw in Origins, and then as the series progresses, we kind of see one of the other ones.
As difficult he was, I would definitely say he should be way up on the list.
Yeah, he was hard. I remember thinking you spawn in this tiny little grubby shack with very little space to fight.
You have barely any place to maneuver, and the other thing is that he keeps switching between 2 forms, a Revenant, and the other one, I think it's an Arcane Horror, I guess.
Yes.
And I think I remember the Revenant being the easier one. It's still difficult, but it's the easier one.
Yeah, I think the magic he has, I can't remember what element it is, but it really seems to, it just goes through everything.
I don't remember. It's like spirit magic, I guess?
Probably. Yeah, you know what? That's probably right.
But that's Jax Gang, and at the bottom of the list. Quite a surprise for me, actually.
So in 13th place, we have the Ice Giant. I think with this one, the reason it ended up maybe a little bit lower was because some people didn't know where it was.
One of those people. I didn't even know it even existed until way later after finishing Hakon, and I was playing Heroes of Dragon Age, the mobile game, and they introduced the Ice Giant. I was like, where the hell was this guy in the game?
Right.
I never met this guy. Although I remember he was annoying as hell. Like he did hit like a giant, but had these extra.
Well, he had frost spikes. Yeah.
So you're expecting a giant, which is already bad enough, and then you get no, this thing has extra damage.
Yeah, actually, and unfortunately, I was underleveled the very first time I went to Hakon, and so here I am just running around, and I come across this guy, and he throws a boulder in my face, much like you'll see in the footage that was provided by Amanda, but I did not survive for very long.
Yeah, it's the thing with Dragon Age. They should introduce a dodge mechanics. Every other game has that. So you either dodge or actually in Dragon Age you either block or you get it right in the face.
You just go flying.
It's usually getting it right in the face. That's how it happens in Dragon Age.
Pretty accurate.
But yeah, that's the Ice Giant. I'm not gonna say I'm surprised about his spot. He was difficult, but not.
But he wasn't a boss, right? He was like
a random.
Yeah, exactly. A random encounter, and he was
not
a pain in the ass.
Yeah, absolutely not.
The ice made him more difficult than any other giant I think we've visited that we fought.
Exactly.
I'm not visiting with him.
Absolutely not. So in the 12th spot, we do have Corypheus from Dragon Age 2, actually. 7.2% of total votes. I'm surprised and not surprised that he is in this spot.
I'm wondering a little bit if people got him confused with the Dragon Age InQUIZition version, because that
was probably the worst.
We all know that one wasn't difficult.
It was a shame because there's so much build up to Corypheus, the other one. He's badass. He can command the High Dragon and stop time and all that, but then he's a wimp in the fight, basically.
Well, and actually I had to go back and play Legacy because I've never played it before, and I found him to be way more difficult. Mostly because he's constantly throwing stupid rocks or magic or extra things that you now have to go around to destroy his pillars. Like,
Which I actually like. It kind of makes the fight more dynamic. It's not just, hey, come to me and let's just start wailing at each other.
well, you have to have some strategy because the
Yes.
first few times I played it, all my companions died, and I ended up having to try and solo him, which doesn't work as a rogue by yourself. I wouldn't recommend
No,
it.
no, it doesn't. It's really funny that Corypheus just after waking up is more difficult than him at height of his power.
Yeah, that's actually a little bit disappointing and
Especially
pathetic a little
considering
bit.
his role in the story. He's major in the story.
Yeah.
But he's the main, well, not the main antagonist of Dragon Age Inquisition, but let's say he's the main antagonist.
Well, yeah, for the first part before
For
we
the first
find
part, he
everything
is.
out,
Before
right?
exactly. That's the thing I suspect why people didn't vote for him that much, because they thought it was Corypheus in general and not only Corypheus Dragon Age 2.
Yeah. Yeah, though I think maybe some of the people ahead of him deserve it, but I think he maybe deserved a little bit more than the 7.2%.
Just a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's our number 12. Now let's move on to number 11.
So the next placing that we have is a little bit unique. The two boss fights ended up with the same percentage of votes. So with 9.1% each is the Archdemon and High Dragon. So they would be 10th spot.
Which would be funny because they're both in the same game and they're both dragons. So it is very ironic, especially that I consider the High Dragon to be a much tougher boss fight than the Archdemon.
Me too. I think sometimes that comes down to the fact that you're potentially not as leveled as well, and so it just seems a little bit more difficult. And I found that fight, I wasn't anticipating it when I first went. I
did that on purpose. I did call the dragon. I remember doing that.
I hit the gong the gong and thought, what is this gonna do? And all of a sudden this massive dragon is flying at me, and I was not prepared for it at all.
I had to redo the fight a couple of times.
Yes, I definitely did.
Yeah. The Archdemon was the fight in itself, like the full fight, was not easy, especially with the waves of Darkspawn.
Mm-hmm. Well, the whole thing leading up to it, just to get to the Archdemon itself, was difficult.
So it's the thing. It's the High Dragon. It's more about the fight itself, but the Archdemon, it's the atmosphere leading to the fight and the conclusion of the fight.
I agree. Especially with the ballista. The ballista made that way easier, because I think the first time I tried, I didn't even use it, thinking like, what the heck is this for? And it's really crucial when you're fighting.
Plus your allies, like the armies you bring with you, are kind of useless at that point.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't seem to help as much as you would like.
Yeah, well, so that sums up our number 10, and now we can move on to number 9. So in 9th spot, we do have Cereth, the final boss of Trespasser and Dragon Age Inquisition, by 9.6% of the total votes. What do you think?
I actually just replayed this fight, and he was difficult. I remember the very first time I played it, though, it was like Vivian and him. That's it. I don't use Vivian often, and it was one hit for her and one hit for him, and I just got lucky that time.
I think I did manage to go through the first fight, especially that I had the Templar, and he does have a lot of barriers, and Templars are good. I think they have that Dispel.
Yeah, they have Spell Purge, and
so that's really OP against anything that has a barrier. I just think I got lucky in that fight. But he still is really annoying, especially the old Cerebos in Dragon Age Inquisition have this stupid aura that as soon as you get close to them, you're slowed down.
Yeah, and every time you hit him enough times, all of a sudden he just disappears. He hops into the air and literally lands and kind of like Hulk smashes on the ground.
And, well, I love the fight though, especially that it's the closure for the whole game.
Yeah, I actually, this last time I played it, I ended up using the Mark a lot more, which was helpful. I found he is a little bit, he's not resistant to that. But then he starts summoning demons at the end, and that is a huge pain in the butt. I let
That's
my party take care of those guys.
He summons a pride demon at some point too.
Yes, right at the end. All of a sudden he's got this massive pride demon.
That's what I like about the fight. There's some atmosphere to it. You see him getting crazier by the second.
Well, and you need to be strategic, because if you're not watching your party members, or they're not doing what they need to be doing.
A lot of glyphs on the ground too.
Mm-hmm.
That would trap you in, I think, lightning glyphs. That's what he puts. But as boss fights go, he's, I would say, the real final boss of Dragon Age Inquisition, because
I found him satisfying at the end of the day. It was good.
All right, so that's our number 9. Now we can move on to number 8.
In 8th place, we have the Sky Horror with 9.7% of the vote. This guy was the biggest a-hole, I feel like, in this whole series.
I think for me, it was the boss that killed me the most in all of the series. For me, this would be top spot.
Yes.
No contest. I was not expecting something like that. So you're just on a random quest, on a DLC, and then you find this, you disturb these whatever ashes are in a grave or whatever. This thing summons, it's same as many demons you fought before, so you think, oh, it's just going to be one of these guys. But no, absolutely not.
No, he's constantly summoning his little cultist to come and stab you in the back while you're not expecting it.
And he does have those 2 AoE spells that basically drain your health in an instant. So I remember the first time I fought him, and because I had no idea what it was. So my party was killed, I think all of them, in 4 seconds.
Yeah, I was dead within a minute for sure. Like, I was, no questions asked.
That doesn't make sense. Even Dark Souls bosses did that to me.
Yeah.
And I played a lot of Dark Souls.
This guy was brutal.
But still, I was surprised he's in 9th spot. I thought this thing would be 8th spot. I thought this thing would be higher than that. But the people have voted. And
I wonder too if some people didn't find him as well, because
it's in the DLC, so you should always think that not everyone played the DLC, and let alone a side quest in a DLC.
Mm-hmm.
So that explains you always need to filter these DLC bosses, which is kind of ironic because our top bosses are DLC bosses.
Right.
All right. Now we're gonna move to number 7. So in 7th place, we do have the 4 level 30 Despair Demons in Jaws of Hakon DLC. Quite surprised that these guys would be right in the middle of the list. To be honest, I think because I went with the Templars, this fight was quite easy actually, especially if you have that Wrath of Heaven and was it Spell Purge? I guess it's Spell Purge.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Combo. Basically, it just takes the whole barrier they have, which is the worst thing they cast is a barrier. So if you have anything or any class that has trouble getting the barrier away, this fight would be probably impossible for you.
Yeah, I had my mage, who of course is equipped with fire, and I brought Dorian along too, which again, I think part of this is all the party that you have. Mm-hmm. If you're wandering upon it and you're not prepared, I think you're going to have a lot of difficulty. Or even with a rogue, I remember my husband playing this game and having a lot of difficulty trying to beat these guys. But when I played it, I didn't find it that bad. Probably because I had the 2 mages with fire and a healing aspect as well.
The other thing, it's not even a boss fight. It's just 4 random enemies out of nowhere. But no, it's not an easy fight.
You know, I honestly found the Pride Demons harder. The 4 Pride Demons that you run across in Jaws of Hakon, those guys, they were tough.
For me too, actually. But like I said, this fight is situational. It depends on what you bring to the fight. It can either become a mage, fire mage especially, or a Templar would trivialize this fight.
Yeah,
Other than that, it's not as bad. That's my own opinion, at least.
So coming in at number 6 is Circa III, the first fight that you have. It's optional. So you can choose to either just surrender and go to prison, or you can choose to fight her. And apparently, about 12.8% of you who chose to fight her found her very difficult.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's because of the game. It's at that point you just finished a long quest to rescue Anora, and basically you did go through all your healing and pretty much all your items, but this fight comes by and it's her. If she was on her own, it wouldn't be bad.
Oh, she got too many minions.
Too many minions, too many archers, and I think it's the way that the developers wanted to tell you, hey, you're not supposed to win this fight.
I'm pretty sure if you die fighting her, I'm pretty sure you just go to prison anyway.
Probably. If someone has an idea, please let us know in the comments. I have no idea. Because first time I played, I did pick the prison option. The second time I played, I did manage to kill her by some miracle.
And I can't even remember in my playthroughs. I played so many, but I do remember going to prison at some point, and I do remember fighting her. So whether I ever killed her, I don't even know.
Like I said, it's the way the devs tell you, hey, you're not supposed to win this fight. The logical sequence, progress for this mission is the prison section, which actually I'm not even mad about, because the prison section is one of the best sections in the whole game. And actually, you do manage to get a second chance of finding her right before the lands meet. But then, if you can't manage to dissuade her from fighting you, you can just kill her, and it's pretty satisfying, actually, for me.
Yeah. Oh, she was such a bee.
It was satisfying. You can say bitch, it's alright. It was so satisfying. So that's Circa III on number 6. So now at the top 5, and in 5th spot we do have the Arishok at 13.5% of votes. Not surprising he's at 5th place, to be honest. I was expecting him to be in the top 5. Especially, well, you know the story behind fighting the Arishok.
Yes, he's by far, depending, I think, again, what class you're using, but every time I've played, it's a mage or a rogue, and I'm constantly running the figure 8s, trying to stay away from him so he doesn't bulldoze me over.
The problem with the Arishok is it's not even mid-game. It's like the first third of the game?
Probably, yeah, in the first third.
The first third of the game, and he's the final boss of the act, and it's such a difficult boss for that, like, at that time. If you fought the Arishok, let's say, further in the game, he would not have been as difficult as he is. So a lot of people were not expecting a boss fight that tough around that certain progress in the game. But still, it was not an easy fight. The problem is, I don't remember, it was not easy, but I don't remember the fighting details. It's been a while since I played Dragon Age 2. But I remember getting stabbed a lot. Quite a lot.
I do remember, because every time I've played, it's never been a single duel for me. I always have my party with me, and even then,
I always bring the dog.
You get Quinari warriors that are then spawned. Yeah. It's not just the Arishok.
No, I mean, you bring people, he will bring people. But all in all, I think it does deserve the 5th spot.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
And
in 4th place, we have Flemeth with 14.5% of the vote. For her, I'm actually a little bit surprised that she's in the top 5.
For me, possibly the biggest surprise.
Yeah, because I find her very similar to the High Dragon or the Archdemon.
But
yet she ranks significantly higher.
Way higher than both, actually. But I think it's because people do rush to fight her.
Yeah,
she's part of the Morrigan romance quest.
Yeah, everybody giving Morrigan all the gifts. You guys, just calm down.
Well, everyone loves Morrigan. You can't blame them.
No, you can't.
But the problem is, that's the thing. You can either wait till you're higher level, and then you can go fight her, and she wouldn't be this bad. But I would think give the romance its fair time to explore all possibilities, and then do the fight. But most people would just give Morrigan the add-on gifts.
Yeah.
So she has max approval, and then she says, "Hey, can you go kill my mom for me, please? I need this book."
But if your persuasion's high enough, you could just get Flemeth to give you the book and then not even worry about this
here's
fight.
the thing: like, if you go too early, you don't even have a high level of persuasion.
Exactly. So you really limit yourself if you don't have the persuasion and you're not leveled enough to take her on. She becomes that much more difficult.
Yeah, so you're gonna just fight her, and she's gonna whoop your ass.
But
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have seen some people when they did fight her. I mean, if they were gonna fight her, the best shot that you had was, a range healer, and you gotta have your tanks because otherwise you're not gonna survive without the healer.
Yeah, so let her focus on the tanks while the healer does the job, and you stay behind and do the damage.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy. But like I said, for me, I think wait until after you've done the Sacred Ashes one. You fight the High Dragon to learn how it works, and then fight Flemeth. That's just a logical.
Well, she's optional, right? I mean, she's meant to be a little bit later in the game, not, give Morrigan all the gifts to jump her bones and then have to kill her mom.
Well, that's everyone wanted to get to that night with Morrigan.
Right.
Well, that was our number 4. Now we go to the top 3. And in third place, we do have everyone's favorite NPC in the whole game. Everything. It's the Broodmother with 15.6% of the votes.
She's gross.
Oh, she's so hot. Absolutely not. I think she's the only thing worth the R rating in the game, or the mature rating. It's funny, like you would go expecting to see some naked ladies or naked gentlemen, and then there's your nudity.
Well, you do have a lot of nudity and a lot of nipples.
We didn't give you 2, we gave you many.
Yeah, too many.
Feast your eyes.
Oh. Anyways, on to her fight, which is annoying, most definitely, with all her tentacles.
It's pretty annoying. It's not easy. There's also the shock value. Like, what the hell is that thing?
Yes, it's like that whole area she's in is just like a pit of goo and disgusting
melted flesh. It makes you wonder about the smell.
Oh, that probably would make it hard to fight.
Yeah, well, we should be grateful we don't play games with the smell options. Yeah. would be weird. So yeah, on her fight, she can be pretty annoying with her tentacles. And the other thing I find about her fight that would be a bit complicated is that she's not the final boss of the area.
Mm-hmm.
She's right in the middle, so she makes the next one even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before her you fight the
corrupted spider.
Corrupted spider queen, I guess. Feel free to correct me, but I think you do fight her right before, and then you have an option to fight a pride demon. And there's a optional boss fight, a pride demon in the Deep Roads as well. But I don't know where it is when it happens. Is it right before or quite a while before? But onto the Broodmother herself, and there's also the Mother, final boss of Awakening.
She's not as difficult as the
because I think your character is quite OP at that time. You have the best weapons, the best gear.
Yeah,
but
this one I think is shock value mostly, and then
mostly shock value.
There's tentacles everywhere, so it doesn't really matter where you are. It's hard to step back and try to get out of range from her.
It is satisfying to kill her, but I don't know. That's like we're just end her misery basically.
Yeah, because that's a dark and sad story for sure.
It is. Well, we'll talk about the story in depth in future videos. But for now, we're going to move to our number 2.
In second place, with 21% of the vote, we have the Guardian, the Titan Heart from the Descent in InQUIZition.
I know that thing killed me way too much. I mean, I think way too fast, I would say.
Yeah. The other downfall to this fight is that you can be killed by gravity.
Oh god, Dark Souls flashbacks.
Yeah. So not only are you worried about flailing arms and smashing attacks, you now have to make sure that you don't get too close to the edge because gravity may just kill you.
That and don't backflip as an archer. That always works against you. The other thing, I think this fight is unfair to melee characters.
Oh,
It's much
I
easier for ranged characters.
Yeah, if you've got your tanks, like I always play range, right? So there's actually a place you can kind of hide behind some of the pillars and stay far away, and you get your tanks in there doing that, where you're just supporting them. They've got to kill those legs though, because if you don't
Yeah,
kill those legs, you're just
they
wasting your
make
time.
yeah, they're just gonna make life harder for your melee characters. You have nowhere to go by because at the beginning of the fight, there is no way you can just flank the boss on the sides or the back. No,
Mm-mm.
everywhere there is something that's gonna hit you. At least breaking those short tentacles on the side would allow you to get some damage later and not have to worry about them. Actually, I have no idea how much damage they put on you.
Enough to kill you after a hit or two, especially because there's so many in succession. It's all the way
Yes,
around, right? You get thrown away, and then that doesn't mean you're not going to get hit by another leg all of a sudden.
yes. And there's also the pillars that come from the ground in
Yes.
rapid succession. The more you progress on the boss fight, those things are just gonna keep spawning, with
Yes.
giving you very little time. Actually, I found those to be worse for melee characters because you can't stop and attack.
No, they're just, yeah, you've got to be careful. You got to keep moving because then you're going to get hit by the spikes or
Lo-
those
yeah, and
cluster things.
lore-wise, it's quite an important boss fight.
Yeah.
We don't know yet the degree of how important it is, but I'm pretty sure it is crucial to everything we know about dwarves and their connection to the Fade and magic and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The consequences that, even defeating this thing might have. It'll be very interesting to see.
No, let's hope they keep on tracks in the next game and not completely forget about it.
I was just going to say, don't forget about it.
They did forget about a few things on the previous games, but
Yeah.
let's hope they don't. All right, and now we go for our winner number one. So in top spot, we do have the Harvester from Dragon Age Origins DLC, Golems of Amarak at 23%. No surprises here. A lot of people voted and even commented on the Harvester saying how much of a nightmare he is.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, this is the one boss on that list I have never fought. My plan, I've never played that DLC, but my plan is to play it, especially since everybody's talking about how difficult
They
it is.
did, and they said this boss has an achievement to it called Grim Reaper, which you get if you kill the Harvester either on hard or nightmare difficulty, and a lot of people couldn't get that achievement because of this fight.
I
Some
can't
people
imagine
some people
killing
even
him.
said they had to turn down the difficulty for this fight.
Well, just the videos that I saw of the gameplay, he gets really fast when he gets
That's the
small.
thing. That's the thing. Like, how I find this boss to be much more difficult than anything in all of Origins, because all the bosses in Origins they were not, let's say, agile or quick.
Yeah.
They were slow, sluggish because of the game. I mean, it's not a new game. They felt clunky, but this one didn't. He was quick. He moved so quickly, and of course, let's add to that the legions of
Skeletons.
skeletons and undead. So you have no idea what to focus on.
Yeah, one of the comments was that they constantly got surrounded, stunned, and staggered to death by skeletons. So I imagine this is going to be a very difficult fight.
It will be. I mean, you will play it soon, and you'll see for yourself why people are saying it is. I'm not surprised that it did win first spot. It's all over the place whenever someone wants to talk about the toughest boss in all of Dragon Age. Harvester always comes on top.
I think it probably deserves it because from what I've seen, it looks like a nightmare.
I do agree with this one. It doesn't feel. It's not like the Guardian. As I felt myself, the Guardian was more artificial difficulty. It's just like a boss. He hits too hard. He can reach you anywhere in the arena, and he hits so hard. Like there is barely any strategy to use with him. It's just
Hmm.
hide or be way too OP for the fight. For the Harvester, you need to use strategy with this guy. And which is funny, most of the strategies would fail, but one of those hundreds and hundreds of strategies would work. You just need to plan it. So that sums up our video about the toughest encounters in Dragon Age. And thank you very much to all those who voted, and for of course, as usual, the Dragon Age Facebook groups, Dragon Age Universe, Dragon Age GFC, Dragon Age Game of Thedas, and Dragon Age 3 InQUIZition, as well as the DA Univers, which is the French Dragon Age page, and of course the Dragon Age subreddit. Also, big thanks to Amanda, a friend of ours. She's the one who provided the gameplay footage for our videos. Also, she did mention that she had to tone down the difficulty for the ice giant fight because it was way too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, big thank you to all of these people, and we're gonna release the next poll about next week. Sometimes this time is gonna be later than usual, but well, thank you very much, and see you next time.
See you.